Tonight on Gamer Quotient Gaming Academy, the game has changed. Digital only gaming, physical media, ownership, preservation, and what players may lose for convenience. The headmaster's desk is here. Class starts now. Hey, what's up, guys? It is your headmaster here at the Gaming Academy, GQ Asian Dude. Welcome back to another headmaster's desk. Have a seat. We're in for a doozy tonight. Sit down, chill out. We're here to chat. Now, before we get into tonight's show, I want to take a moment to remind everybody that this stream is part of the St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital Play Live 2026 charity campaign. Now, for us at Gamer Quotient Gaming Academy, and gaming has always been more about than just playing games. It's about community, purpose, and using the hobby we love to do for something meaningful. And that's what playing with intention is all about. I like to talk about this throughout the show, throughout Tuesday, and also on the headmaster's desk as well. Now, tonight, every donation, every share, and every bit of support helps us contribute to St. Jude's mission of helping children and families facing serious illness. So, as we talk about games and break down topics, laugh, learn, and level up together, remember that tonight we're also playing for something big. So, thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting the stream. And thank you for helping us show what this community can do when we play with intention. Go ahead and type in exclamation point charity in chat, and it'll take you to the donation link below. So, yeah, I'll do that right now. I'll be the first one to do that just to kind of show you guys and you get more information about the charity. Cool, so it works. Anyway, welcome back, guys. It is Thursday, July 9th, and boy, it's been a week of drama because Sony has done the unspeakable. That's right. They're going full on digital. Now, here's the crazy part, right? And I think this is why it's crazy. Uh, because if you think about it, we've already had digital only products like Steam. If you're a PC gamer, you've already been doing digital only for the longest time, right? There's nothing to to be coy about this. This already exists. And Sony is just jumping on the bandwagon about this. Now, why are they doing that, right? Because it is insane. It is a drastic change for what's going on. Okay, but we'll get to that here in a second. How's it going, Blue? Welcome back to the show. I know we were here Tuesday. Welcome back on Thursday. I wanted to say, everybody, if it's your first time here, class, it is time to step away from the main lesson for a moment to bring things to the headmaster's desk. This is part of Gamer Quotient Gaming Academy, where we slow things down, take a closer look at conversations happening around gaming. Sometimes it's a community submitted link, sometimes it's a hot button topic, sometimes it's a piece of industry news, a player debate, a controversial decision, or a bigger question where gaming is headed. And that's a scary place. But the goal of the headmaster's desk is not to just react. It's often to reflect. We're here to ask what the topic really means, why people care about it, and what lessons we can take from it as players, fans, creators, and members of the gaming community. Because not every headline needs to be an outrage. Not every controversy needs a hot take. Not every trend deserves our attention. Now, here at Gaming Academy, we look at these topics through the lens of playing with intention. Now, do we ask ourselves often, is this worth our time? Is this worth the energy? Is this helping the hobby grow? Right? Is this pushing players forward or just feeding into the noise? There's a lot of outrage out there right now. We don't really want to feed into it, but we do want to reflect and talk about it even more. The headmaster's desk is where we examine the issue, challenge the conversation, and try to find a lesson behind the headline. So let's open the desk, pull up the topic, and let's see what the gaming world is trying to teach us today. Okay, like I said, Sony has opened the floodgates to this new thing, and wow, it is incredible, right? They're claiming in 2028 they're going digital only, and that's got people feeling a certain way, feeling a specific way. Not good, not good. Now, on the other hand, Xbox is doing their own thing, right? They just laid off about 1,400 people, closed down a bunch of studios, sold off a few studios, matter of fact, and they have their own issues to deal with. Now, I mentioned to the faculty here at Gaming Academy that physical is something that we've just been used to throughout this whole time. These companies, they're doing it to survive because the model that they picked during 2020 and is now 2026, and they admitted that it's not working out for them, right? Sony, Concord didn't work out, lost millions, hundreds of millions of dollars. Sony bought Bungie. They also failed and had them lose money. Hundreds of millions of dollars. They bought them for like $1 billion, something like that. Something crazy. So during COVID, chat, if you guys don't know, if you don't remember this, these companies bought out a lot of these smaller studios and companies because they wanted more control of the industry. They wanted their piece of the pie, their market share, right? Let's Sony will buy Bungie, so Bungie could not make games for other people, other Xbox or something like that, only for Sony, right? Bungie is 3.7 billion. Thank you, Blue. That is their plan. And here's the thing. My Xbox did the same thing. Microsoft did the same thing. I read last time on Tuesday that their plan in 2020 was to go full on Game Pass. Game Pass was the center of the universe, right? For Microsoft. And their goal was to turn everything into an Xbox, meaning that it doesn't matter what you're on. PC could be like your phone, your fridge, right? Everything was an Xbox. Play everything on Xbox to be a Game Pass. They bet on it so hard they increased the price of Game Pass because they wanted to force you to use Game Pass. Well, what do we say here on Gaming Academy? When what do we say to the students here? Is we say vote with your wallet, because that is the strongest vocal the strongest way to represent yourself and how you really feel about these companies. And they did that, right? As soon as they raised the price on Game Pass, like many users turned that off, right? And they were forced to put it back because wow, we don't want to lose all, because here's the thing, that was their gambit. They wanted everybody to be on Game Pass. So they were gonna go, well, if they're gonna be on Game Pass, let's increase the price because, you know, what are they gonna do? Not use Game Pass? Absolutely correct. That is exactly why, they brought the price back down, because that is their centerpiece. And if they have no users leveraging that centerpiece, right? Then their whole plan crumbles away. Game Pass is Phil Spencer's grand plan. You know what? Here's the thing. It's not a bad plan, honestly. It's not a bad plan, but to have your whole company, kind of circulate around Game Pass is not how gamers got here in the first place. You know, is not it, this that's not the way, right? We're gonna go to Mandalorian. That is not the way. Absolutely not. So here's what I recommend. Right, I think that they should still go with Game Pass as an option for their console. Matter of fact, they should still leverage Game Pass to be only used on Xbox, not PC, if they want to keep Xbox. Do you get what I'm saying? Add value to why you would get an Xbox. And I think a good way to to kind of like exemplify this, right? Netflix, Amazon Prime, they rotate their movies, right? If Xbox rotated their games, I think that would definitely add more value to playing said game right now. Here's the thing, you don't own those games anyway. It's a pass to those games, right? So and that's a whole, my God, that is a whole different topic, but let's just focus on this right now. So, but here's the thing though. If you want to buy that game because it's going out of rotation and you want to keep it forever, since you have Game Pass already and maybe perchance you've already played it, perhaps get a discount. on the Xbox marketplace, right? On that game that you're playing. Brother, they track your achievements already, how many hours you're playing on the game. They bro, they should just be like, "Okay, seems like you've been playing this enough. How's 50% off and getting this game? Get it on sale." Something to give incentive for loyalty, you know? Loyalty and desperation are two different things, you know? These companies wanna trap us um into their user space, right? Everybody has an app. Every fast food place has an app, right? And if you use the app, you get a discount, right? Because they don't want you going on other places. They don't want you distracted because they think you're stupid. They think you have a short attention span, which most people do. This is why they have an app, right? And they give you benefits for using the app. You see what I'm getting at? When you use a McDonald's app or Burger King app, they're giving you like 10% off. There's deals, they're digital only through the app, reward points, right? They're exchanging your time and attention to be there and to use that app, and they're rewarding you for it. Now, this is the opposite now. They're going, "Oh, yeah, you've been loyal to us forever. Matter of fact, you're so loyal to us, I don't think you're loyal to anybody else. So, we're just gonna go ahead and raise everything because you're basically addicted and you have no morals and values." But here's the thing, I will be devil's advocate for you guys, for Sony and Microsoft. It is our own fault as gamers that they made this decision. Now, that may sound like a hot take, right? Because it is, right? As a gamer and a consumer, I should be on your side 100%, right? But here's the thing, the data is there. They collected the data from all across the board, right? They looked at it and went, wow, everyone's buying digital. Like 75% of games are digitally purchased, right? So what are they supposed to think when they see that data? You don't talk to them. They don't talk to you. Like they look at their data. Your activities, your actions are showing them how you're playing games right now, right? I ran into the same problem all streaming services did. They got a bunch of studios thinking they could put quality content. Problem is high quality content doesn't mean on time or cheap, unfortunately. Yeah, I mean, we talked about that, how games cost way too much, right? Why are games like being so expensive? $100 million to make plus, expecting 10x return on a subpar game that's like, why should I play this when I can play this other game that's $10 cheaper or sometimes free, right? So and that's kinda how it is right now in the industry. The competition is so fierce that pricing something is as important as being a unique of a game that stands out. Because somebody can literally say, "Why should I play Diablo 4 when I can play Path of Exile for half the price or sometimes even free?" Right? If I'm a new gamer, I have no ties to Diablo 4 or Diablo if I'm new to the game, right? I don't have experience and memories and nostalgia for the 3 other games. I have no loyalty to that games. So I'll play whatever's cheaper, whatever's available. But here's the thing. Here's where they get you, right? They'll get you because they want you to play with your friends. So what are your friends playing right now? If you have friends that are gamers like Blue Riot Bot, myself, right? We've been playing for a long time. We're we're seasoned veterans in the gaming industry. We've seen it all, right? Tragically Elite, he's been around for a while. Halo 2, Sega Genesis, right? I have Nintendo, PlayStation. God, all behind me are physical games. I love physical games. I love something you can touch, see, feel, look, etc. Right? That's how I grew up on gaming. And it's not difficult to appease somebody that's a long time gamer. Now here's the difference. Casual gamers typically don't care about physical, right? They want quick and easy access. And I think that's who they're catering to right now. And that's and what's going on is I think honestly, they are still the minority, right? But our actions as a consumer, because here's the thing, I also buy digital on some games that are digital only, right? Or for convenience, I don't want to go to the store, or I don't want to wait 3 days for it to deliver here, right? Or pick it up. It's just I can get it right now in 2 minutes. Download it, bam, it's right there, right? So I'm guilty of that too. I'm not pushing the blame on the companies only. Gamers are as much to blame for this, right? For this action because the data is there. So, but if you add our actions and those that are casual that don't really buy physical anyway, right? That's why they have the numbers as they are because they stack, right? And we're outnumbered. There are more people buying digital games because it's just shown by their activity, right? And it's true. It is simple, much easier to get access to a game, especially on launch, right? I don't think people COVID really messed us up. Like people aren't all about midnight releases anymore. There's no 24/7 Walmarts, right? It's just weird stuff like this that like culture has changed around in general. So gaming has also been affected by that. People are not doing midnight releases, right? They're not doing these launch parties. People are just online. That's the new culture. And their actions are simply just saying, "Hey, we're kind of matching your energy." And then now they're mad at us. Now we're mad at them because we've been so used to physical media for X years, right? Especially from Sony, especially from their ad campaign from the PS4 era. It feels like a betrayal, right? It feels like a betrayal. And I think that's how everyone's feeling about it, honestly. I don't know. What do you guys think? Blue, what do you think? You know, that's a big problem. But we're here to check out some submissions, some videos tonight as well. I don't want to just yell at the screen all night long, right? So, all right, the first submission for tonight is coming from our very own Tragically Elite with one of my favorite uh, game devs of all time, or previous executives at Microsoft, actually, is Laura Fryer. Woohoo! Switch this over. No, that doesn't look good. It's better. This way? Mm, no, no, no. Hold on. Still not good. Okay. Uh, yeah, let's do that. Let's do this. That's better, right? All right. So this is Laura Fryer. You know, she is ex-executive at Epic Games, I believe. She helped create Gears of War 2. So she knows her stuff. She worked with Phil Spencer. She has a lot of videos about this, right? So why Xbox studios keep failing in the Freedom Trap. This was submitted by Blue Right Bot. So shout out to Blue Right Bot, of course, sending this up. And we're gonna go ahead and take a watch. So let me get in the right spot here and watch video.
Freedom, and they will make magic. But at Xbox, that dream has turned into a very expensive nightmare. This is what I call the freedom trap. Creative freedom is incredible. It's completely okay to explore niche ideas, tell personal stories, or even include messages the publisher wants to see in your game. That's your choice as a creator. The issue isn't what you make. The issue is when you explore higher risk or niche topics, but still build the team, the budget, and the timeline as if it were a mainstream blockbuster. It's when you don't test those ideas early with real players to see if there's actually a market before making a blind commitment. Everyone could see that Keeper was a short, surreal, artistic, niche game. Yet nobody seemed willing to have the hard conversation about realistic expectations and scoping the project accordingly.
You know, he's just like, what's the most unpitchable idea that I could present to Microsoft, who's stuck with us, and see if they approve it? And it did. And so we're just like,
It's what you know what's interesting to me, chat, is that game designers and producers that made video games like in 2000s look entirely different than how they do now. Also, I would argue that in 1990 or in the 80s, they also look different. In the 80s, they look like old men. Like the guys that created Atari and Activision, right? These look like suburban like dads wearing polos, right? Smoke cigarettes and stuff. But like, and then in the 2000s, like the 2000 producer and the 2000 game designer, in at least in the West, right? Phil Spencer is the guy that goes into my brain that looks like that. Here, I will show you guys an example of what I'm talking about so I don't sound like a crazy person, right? Lead designer of Activision in the 80s. I don't know how to spell Activision. Okay. Is this him? No. Yeah, I think this is him. So let me show you this. This is crazy. That's a fashion designer. What the heck? It's not Activision. Okay. Co-founder Jim Levi. Let's do this. What? Why are you? Why are you acting this way, bro? Okay, here we go. So this is the this man is the one of the co-founders of Activision. David Crane, right? At the time, he helped create Pitfall in 1982 and Freeway in 1981. But you see what I'm saying? This man designed video games back in the 80s, right? And then now we're gonna look at Phil Spencer. He's one of the big guys at Microsoft, right? He's a gamer too, and he kind of looks like a very like he looks like a nerd version of who's the guy in Wedding Crashers, right? Vince Vaughn. Yeah, he looks like Vince Vaughn. Look at this. This is 2000s era, 1990 2000s era, right? So and it's funny that like we go back to here and it's just weird, by the way. Like that's all I'm saying. It's like the generation has changed who makes our video games. So it's just like, and so it's reflected on how the games are made, honestly, right? How the games feel, how they're projected, through the designer. That's why there's some sort of like disconnect right now in gaming when it comes to these newer games. Maybe because like we're old talking heads and this is the new generation and we just don't get it. Okay.
okay.
You have to scope the project and the team size to match the commercial risk. Otherwise, you're not being brave, you're being reckless with other people's careers. Imagine you're a parent watching your kid play near a busy street. You want them to explore, be creative, take risks, learn. You don't want to be a helicopter parent who controls every move. But if you're too hands off, that kid can run straight into traffic. Good leadership, whether you're a parent or running a huge gaming division, is that constant, difficult balancing act. You give autonomy, but you also set clear boundaries and step in
Matt
before
Booty.
things go off a cliff.
I have a pretty strict rule about not sticking my nose into game design.
Okay. First mistake right there. Boss man literally said the head of Xbox Studios just told their designers, I have a strict rule of not giving a shit about what you guys make. I think that's a problem. Because if your team lacks leadership, right, then you'll start, and then they'll just, this is why games feel like they're all going in different directions. There's no unity in their design. There's no unity in like, you know, there's no what do you call this? Not synergy, but like it's just not put together. It feels like they're so disconnected and discombobulated from each other.
I am here to tell you, and I will say, that our goal is to change as absolutely little about this studio as possible.
That's why these jobs are so tough. Too much control kills creativity. Too little control wastes hundreds of millions of dollars. And
Yeah. And when I say self-corrected, that's Laura is saying exactly what I said, right? Too little control is just a waste of time because nobody there. This is why they have like sheepdogs, right? Herding the sheep. Because if you let them go, they're just going to go everywhere and do whatever, and there's going to be chaos.
ends careers. And that's exactly what went wrong here.
There's a bright golden haze on the meadow.
After Microsoft started buying up studios and doubling down on Game Pass, the message to a lot of teams became, go be creative, fill the service. Sales aren't the main priority anymore.
That is a bold-faced lie. Saying sales is not the main purpose anymore. That's how they all lost their jobs, because their games didn't sell. Whoever said that needs to be fired. 100%. If it was Matt Booty, Blue Right Bot, you're absolutely correct. Why is he still there if that's exactly what he said? If that guy is, he just mentioned, I don't want to stick my nose into game design.
And then leadership stepped back
Gone.
too far. Many studios heard that and ran with it. They were growing their teams, they were extending their timelines, they were chasing ambitious, niche ideas. They were doing what they were encouraged to do.
How much were we expending? What was the goal? Little by little, we added more people, and it was like a train that we couldn't stop.
But when the rules changed and the focus shifted back toward profitability, a lot of those projects couldn't stand on their own. And this is where we are today. I've been through many acquisitions and I've watched many fail. When a company gets acquired, they often forget how to run a business. They listen to the siren song of their new masters and they lose what made them great in the first place.
To pitch RAD, I very much developed RAD around the idea of making a roguelike, because I knew how much money we had to get for it. I knew no one was going to give us that much money unless it was attached to an understandable genre that was making money at a small scale. I like roguelikes. It wasn't like I made something I didn't want to make.
Look at Double Fine in San Francisco as a clear case. Microsoft acquired them in 2019 when they were still a smaller, more nimble indie studio. After joining Xbox, the team grew from around 40 to 60 people to roughly 100 employees in one of the most expensive cities in the world.
It's a new Double Fine. We remodeled.
How are these guys growing when I never see them make any games? And guys, we're talking about games that are costing $100 million. We talk about this all the time. We don't want games that cost this much, but yet here they are, right? Oh, we 40 people? Oh, we need 60 people now. Now there's 100 people. That's way over double the amount, right? Why though? Are their games twice as better? Twice as challenging to make? Like, are they making a game that like nobody else is making and like you just need twice as many people? Is their ambition too big for their stomach?
This is our new space. This is Suite 208. We have a multi-purpose board game area and yoga space.
Since then, they've shipped Psychonauts 2, Keeper, and Kiln. Both Keeper and Kiln peaked at only around 190 concurrent players on Steam. They got decent Game Pass trials, but almost nobody bought them at full price. Keeper did pick up some awards and nominations for its art direction, its visuals, and accessibility, but this is where the industry bubble comes in. Games can get reviewed well and even win awards while having very little commercial success. You saw this with Mixtape. It's
How are games winning awards when they have no commercial success? Tell me about that. Like that, and that is another thing that gamers are like, how are these guys around when no one buys their stuff? Because they made one good game years ago and their reputation is what's carrying them right now. Like, like, oh man, it's so
already
bad.
getting early awards buzz despite modest sales and plenty of debate about whether or not it even feels like a traditional game. Remember when Phil Spencer talked about Redfall's pre-release mock reviews? He mentioned they were internally expecting high 80s, but the game landed much lower. That's a classic bubble problem.
On the score, yeah, we do mock reviews for every game that we launch. And
Bubble problem. Yeah, they're not focusing. They're literally, you know what it is? Toxic positivity. That's exactly what it is. No one's in there. No, they don't have a GQ Asian dude in the room going, "This game fucking sucks." Right? This game doesn't make any sense. No one's gonna buy this. But yeah, they don't want to hurt feelings. They don't want to hurt, like, oh, you worked so hard on it. I just don't want to tell you like that it's bad. Like, people should just love it because you made it. Whatever, dude. That is the most toxic, annoying crap that I've ever seen, and I don't like working with it. I rather have somebody tell me I'm doing a bad job so I can do a better job at my job, right? So we all can win, right? You won't hurt my feelings. My feelings will be hurt if my shit sucks, right? But if you guys are like, dude, if you could tune this a little bit, it'd be so much better. I'd be like, okay, cool, let's do it again, and it becomes better. I like it, you like it, now the audience likes it. Like, it's not sparing my feelings. We're being objective about it.
and this is like double digits lower than we thought we would be.
But here's where it gets complicated. It's easy to look at numbers and blame corporate greed, and sure, there's some of that. But I've lived this exact situation. At one point, I was running a bunch of studios, and we had just acquired 2, and they couldn't be more different. One was focused and successful, and the other one was a cash fire with a very ambitious project. When we toured the successful studio, they actually had buckets on the rafters so that when it rained, they could catch the water. The other studio had just moved into one of the biggest, most expensive waterfront offices available.
What? What did I just hear? Hey, Great Llama, thanks for the follow. Appreciate you.
We immediately got to work fixing both, upgrading the leaky office and getting the other studio out of their expensive lease and into a more reasonable location.
So what Laura is saying, these guys bought the most expensive location for their studio. They're like, what are you guys doing? We're going to be working in this other one that's more modest. This is insane.
Was it easy to tell the failing studio they had to move?
Chat, students, I know we've had this discussion before. You guys, you know who you are in chat that have been putting up, oh, it sucks that these studios are closing. Now that you're finding out that they're wasting money on expensive studios with failing games, should you feel bad for these guys? They did this to themselves. They blame us if their game is bad, right? They tell us, oh, it's the chuds. It's the chuds' fault that the game is bad. Yeah, oh, it's bad press. They're talking shit about our game. Now it's coming to light that they did this to themselves, right? Spending too much money, right? Over hiring. We're the problem. You're the one that made the bad game and over budgeted.
No, it sucked. Okay, I caught a lot of heat. People were really upset. It was not fun.
Yeah, Laura.
But I
I'm
knew
with
it
her on
was the
that one.
right thing to do for the long-term viability of the studio. I wanted to keep as many talented developers as I could.
Jagos, you're right.
So this isn't a new pattern, and it has shared accountability. Double Fine could have stayed leaner. They could have moved to a lower-cost location. Microsoft could have stepped in with clearer boundaries soon.
I don't want to hear it anymore. Honestly, the more Laura is talking right now, the more I'm hearing about this. I feel less and less bad for these devs now. Honestly.
Sooner. But that didn't happen.
The guys who are in charge, dude, look, Matt Booty and Phil Spencer, top-notch dudes. Super respect those guys.
That guy sounds like Sheldon.
They're great. They're gonna come in, smile, point. You guys keep on, do what you do. Woo, we're gonna be like, yeah. 2 days later, Steve from accounting and Bill from marketing shows up. Then we have problems.
You know what? You know what it sounds like? It sounds like Phil Spencer and Matt Booty come from a generation in 2000 or maybe like in the 90s where they're like slim teams. We work with what we got. And so, you know how parents are like, well, I don't want to like have my kids, you know, have the same terrible experience when I was in their shoes. So I want to give them a better lifestyle, right? And these new devs are like, oh, cool, let's just spend all dad's money. And now they're like, that's exactly what that guy said. Like Steve from accounting is like, hey guys, you guys kind of overspend, you know, but Phil Spencer told us to whatever. Yeah, but it doesn't mean you should. Like Phil's expectation for the new devs must have been like, yeah, when I was a dev, like we did this, but like clearly it's not the same. These are not the same types of people. They're in a different age bracket, right? It's just a whole different scenario.
We saw some of the same issues with Redfall and Perfect Dark. Massive talent exodus, morale problems, slow progress, teams that even hoped Microsoft would cancel or reboot the projects. The red flags were everywhere, yet action wasn't taken soon enough. This is the freedom trap in action. Creative freedom is incredible, but it has to be managed. What
Jaw Anna Dark. That's I remember that was so funny.
Microsoft did was hand out broad freedom across the entire portfolio. They scaled up studios for Game Pass volume without keeping the old portfolio discipline that provided real oversight and course correction.
Today, we're double that size or greater. You know, we're part of a first-party organization. We're part of one of the...
That's not a flex if you're still making the same games.
largest content-producing organizations in the world now, and well on our way to making State of Decay 3 with a much greater level of ambition and support behind us.
Yeah, you could be a nice dude, Blu-ray, but and you can still be a terrible leader. Like some people just don't have it in them, right? Or at least not to be a leader at that scale. I mean, like we just heard earlier, Matt Booty said, I don't want to be in charge of your game design. And look what happened.
Can't lock in massive scope, long schedules, and big teams while expecting every game to work, especially when Game Pass makes it much harder to judge real commercial demand. Nobody, not Satya, not Phil, not Sarah, not the studio leaders, nobody put on the brakes when the warning signs were obvious.
Blue, giving the thumbs up to everything means means a few things. One, full trust on you guys, right? Two, I don't care. We don't know which one is more prevalent in that decision making, right? Because control does stifle freedom, creative freedom, right? But like I said, you need leadership so that freedom, just what Laura's saying, doesn't kick you in the ass.
Right now, under Asha Sharma's leadership, Xbox is in the middle of a major reset.
Xbox will keep investing, but we've got work to do.
This is why I like her, because she's like, we got to cut stuff. We got to do this. It's like assertive action, and they know they got to do it. She's not like beating around the bush, right?
The numbers, we're not in a healthy spot. And so, next 100 days is going to be about resetting the business.
There are strong rumors that several studios, including Double Fine, are in serious negotiations and could be on the chopping block. This is the direct consequence of years of the freedom trap playing out. The bill is finally coming due.
We want to take bigger creative risks and create genre-defining games without the constant threat of annihilation.
like I said, I like Asha for what she's doing now. I don't know what she's gonna be doing in the future. But right now, cutting and laying off people is the route they need to take if you still want an Xbox. That's exactly what's going on. Like I said, like I said, they're just doing the big reset. They're literally hitting the reset button on what happened before 2020. 2020, we were all stuck at home. Game users and gamers, like the data was inflated because everybody was home not doing anything, right? So now we're kind of back to normalization in society. So now this is the real numbers are is what's out now, right? Because there's good weather. We're not forced to stay at home indoors, right? So stuff like that.
We want to make our own games our own way and not be told what to make and how to make it.
This reset is painful and it's incredibly frustrating. A lot of talented people who poured years of their lives into these games are going to lose their jobs and see their teams broken up. It sucks, and it's okay to say that.
Yeah.
But the correction was overdue, and it was always going to happen.
Yep.
Pain deferred is pain multiplied.
Hellblade was created with a small team of just 20 people and extremely limited resources. Imagine what we can now achieve with our whole team of 100 people back.
Isn't it weird that Hellblade 1 did really well, but Hellblade 2 didn't do so well? Why do you think that is? They had more people working on Hellblade 2, right? More resources, but Hellblade 1 was better. Why is that?
By Microsoft, focused purely on Ninja Theory's vision.
By avoiding the hard calls for years, they turned a manageable correction into something far more severe. Leadership is ultimately a trust but verified business. And they forgot the verify part. They also seemingly forgot that games is still a business, and this party was always going to end.
Games is still a business.
My
Still a
hope is
product.
that new leadership under Asha Sharma takes a hard look at what went wrong, that they have real postmortems, real changes to how they manage money and people, creative freedom, accountability. And if Xbox can do that, they can come back stronger. They can have healthier studios and better games.
I think we've come to the end of our time. Good night, all.
Thank you, Laura.
You feel like it's made you a better studio?
Well, I guess we'll know whether we're a better studio once we get out the next game, and people will tell us whether we're better or not.
That guy's fired. If I was in charge, and that was the answer to the project manager, the head of the studio that was working for me, I'd be like, what do you mean? You have like you have no confidence in your product? Like, that is not an answer that I want to hear. I gave you money. And guys, we talk about investors, right? Same thing. Investors don't want to hear that guy talk. This is why they have the different figureheads that talk, right? And that try not to hurt the brand. Like chat, what's that guy in Borderlands? Randy Pitchford ruined, like, his big mouth kind of ruined the game, right? Yeah, they don't want him talking, representing the game, because that's the stuff. If that guy is what he's saying, that's the stuff that hurts investors. You don't want that guy in there. Okay, so let's talk about this. How much freedom should a publisher give a studio before support turns into neglect? Right? Let's talk about that. Now, here's some points. Some creative freedom is good, right? But it should probably come with a budget and scope limits. Limitations drive innovation, because like this way you're not just solving the problem by just throwing money at the problem. That's what they've been doing, right? Clearly it hasn't been working. So when you say, guys, you have $10 million, this is all you get, this is all you can do with it, make it work, right? Here's the thing. If my team made a game and their budget was $10 million and they went over by like 100,000, I think that's still okay versus spending $100 million on a damn game. You know what I'm saying? Like, they gotta get creative with their game, right? And not make it easy. Like, you want that kind of talent, the skeleton crew that's talented, right? And then those guys become leaders in their own specialty department. Yeah, you have to be smart with the scope. Absolutely, Andre. All right, here's the thing. Did Game Pass also encourage Xbox to value content volume over commercial discipline? Did Game Pass encourage Xbox to value content volume over commercial discipline? What do you guys get out of that, guys? That question. Did Game Pass encourage Xbox to value content volume over commercial discipline? I would say, you know, I think Game Pass was like its purpose was like was good intention, but at the cost of who, right? Someone's got to bite the cost on that. So, and honestly, I think maybe Microsoft had bought all these studios so they can make games for Game Pass, so they don't have to like split a share with them because it's their studio, right? So I think that was one of the reasons they did that, and now they're basically rolling it back. Can a game be artistically successful but commercially unsustainable? Absolutely yes. You know what game comes up for this question? Can a game be artistically successful but commercially unsustainable? Guess what fighting game is the answer to that question? We talk about it on Ace's stream. It's one of his favorite games. It's one of my favorite fighting games, right? Which game is it, chat? You guys know. Best character models, but probably too expensive to make. 13 is what is the answer, not 14. Yeah, 13. Yes, sir. See, you guys, see, guys, the students here at the academy are so smart, right? That game, each character took like what 6 months or something to make, or something crazy like that. Uh, and that's expensive, right? And if you had 13 characters, that's X times 6 or whatever. Yeah, it took time. Wasn't sustainable, right? But it was cool, right? So yeah, and here's the thing, guys. No matter how much we want another KOF like 13, we're not going to get that. That's too expensive. You know, it sucks. Now, who shares responsibility when a project fails, the studio, publisher, or both? Both. 100% both. You failed as a publisher for not managing your studio, right? And the studio failed the publisher for not giving them what they offered. So if we say, hey, we're going to give you X amount of dollars to sell X amount of games, it's like it's symbiotic, right? They both need each other, because like if one fails, the other fails as well, right? So it's both. 100% both. Is hands-off leadership empowering, or is it avoiding hard decisions? It's avoiding hard decisions. It's not empowering. There should be some sort of guide and leadership, right? Not just like, go have fun, go make games. Okay, but who are these games for? If the more, especially with like all these like self inserts and like oh, this game is gonna be so cool. If people, I think guys like me are gonna love this game. Okay, but then you're a minority of the your what you like is a minority of the bigger scope of how everybody likes their games, though. You know what I'm saying? Like for example, I love fighting games, right? But fighting games are so niche and they don't really sell copies, honestly. Unless you put characters in the fighting game that are wildly popular, like Avatar, right? Mortal Kombat had the movie characters, right? That gets people in there. Why do you think they have guest characters in fighting games, chat? The only reason for guest characters from other franchises is to get that audience to play that game. That's 100% the reason for guest characters. And sometimes they make them better than the actual original roster. because they want to make sure, oh, this character is awesome. Like I want to play them. 100%. That's what it is. Okay. Are layoffs the result of creative failure, business mismanagement, or both? Both. You have business mismanagement, and then hence why you have creative failure. Like it's stop putting. Here's the thing: devs shouldn't be pointing the fingers at publishers. Publishers are already pointing the fingers at devs. They made a bad game, right? And we're paying for it. It's our fault, right? But the devs are going, well, you kind of just told us to do whatever. So it's both their faults. No one is innocent here. The only faction, I should say, that's innocent here is us. And I'm not saying go hate on these companies. We're innocent because we are the sacrificial lamb that dictates whether they're a success or a failure, right? But yet they blame it on us when it's bad. Oh, it's the gamer's fault. How is it our fault? Your games are bad, we don't like it, then why? How is it our fault? That never made sense to me. Like a good game's a good game. Yeah. Example, DMC. Everybody hated DMC, right? Because it wasn't the DMC that they wanted. But that game plays pretty freaking good, in my opinion. It feels good to play, right? If it was called anything else. Matter of fact, it should have been a Dante's Inferno remake. How cool would have that been if it was a Dante's Inferno remake? I don't think people would have given it that much more shit if it was a Dante's Inferno game, not DMC. Right? Because the name is that brand is attached to like a look, a character, right? A feeling. So when you put that title into something, you want to associate that. I get you. Capcom pushed for the drastic changes. Fans hated the changes, and the devs got confused. Yeah, well, that's the thing. It's like, I honestly, like I said, honestly, the first mistake was calling it DMC Devil May Cry. That's the only problem with that game. 100%. If it was called anything else, they would have loved that game because that game plays really well. Shout out to OG fans. Of course, they have no attachment to that. And here's the thing though, like if they're fans of the OG, they're fans of the OG no matter what. That's not going to change. You're not going to make them like your game if they like the OG. Your game is different, right? And this is why I give DMC its flowers, because it was a pretty decent game. And they should have just focused on it. I go play the game. It's actually pretty fun. It's both good for beginners and veteran action game lovers, right? It's not quite the same Dante, but hopefully it captures the same game feel when you're playing. Like that would have been a better response, right? Than it's like y'all suck, right? All right, what does a healthy balance between creativity and accountability look like? I think it's about checks and balances, honestly. I think there needs to be some sort of is a benchmark goalpost that needs to be hit each quarter, or however you want to call it, right? How are we looking on A, B, C, D, right? And then do we need to be like, and at the same time focusing on like, are we good to go here? Like, what is good about this? What's bad? There should be a constant like, you know, conversation and dialogue between publisher and and developer. And here's the thing, like Oliver said this, our historian said this on the Gaming Academy. Just because it is a very unique game, very art house game, very special mixtape, it doesn't mean it's gonna sell like hotcakes, right? It may be a cool game, like it may be like, oh, this is super fresh, super clean, super unique, but it's not gonna be for everybody. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the risk you take with creativity. Here's the thing. The last thing I'll say about the talking point here is if they wanted to make, so for example, Microsoft is Arcane is still making the Blade game, right? Do they want to make this game ambitious and different, or do they want to make it popular and more people will buy it? They have to go. They have to go. Well, what are the things in your video game that will make more people buy the game? Cool characters, game feel, right? Cool story. Is it fun? Multiplayer, whatever those things are, right? And then the creative team has to balance that goal and say, okay, we have to make it like this, but we still want to be creative with it. That's the challenge. Now, if you're a dev and you can't meet that challenge, I feel that you shouldn't be making that game. Because if you're gonna go, no, I'm gonna make it this way, because that's how I want to make it. Okay, but if it doesn't sell, then that's your 100% your fault. Right? It's a balance. You gotta balance it out. All right. You can't just go hard in one direction. Now, if you make a game that's 100% like, you know, fodder, like purchase fodder, yeah, you're gonna be a soulless and heartless dev, and you're like, oh, I hate my job for sure. But maybe you should make a smaller game that doesn't require a big budget, that doesn't require that much oversight, right? That complements that game, you know, to fulfill that need for yourself. Dragon's Dogma 1.5. All right. Here's the thing, guys. Xbox. Let's talk about this. Let's cut this out on the Xbox stuff. Xbox's Freedom Trap is a reminder that creativity without structure can become chaos, right? Giving studios room to experiment is important, but if the budget size, the team size, and expectations do not match the actual market for the game, then the freedom stops being support and starts becoming a risk. Tonight's lesson on this: creative freedom still needs intentional leadership. Creative freedom still needs intentional leadership. Right? Louder for those in the back. Creative freedom still needs intentional leadership. That's our lesson for that. All right. So this next one, our own tragically leet Nick wanted me to watch this, so we're gonna go ahead and watch it. He says he worked in the game industry as well, and he really wanted my insight on it. So let's go ahead and check it out.
This one's coming from the hip, partly because it's somewhat breaking news. We've too much stuff to edit over here. I don't have time to fancy it up, and partly because I'm just so fucking angry about it that I just wanted to get behind a camera and talk about it. So obviously PlayStation has announced that they're backing off of physical releases for their games, starting, I believe it's January of next year. This has been something that has caused a massive reaction within the gaming community, both gamers and people who have business interests within games. It's no doubt going to have catastrophic effects to things like preservation, which has already struggled in the sort of digital present that we exist in. It's probably going to be the death knell, the final nail in the coffin for retail sales eventually. And yeah, more importantly than anything else, it's a consumer choice nightmare because it essentially locks people into digital storefronts. A lot of this stuff has been talked about. I want to talk about an aspect of this that I think doesn't get brought up, and I understand why maybe it doesn't get brought up. But it's the whole idea that physical media was always going to go away, right? This was an inevitable thing, and we should just rip the Band-Aid off instead of pretending, because most of us who are talking about physical media being important are buying digital games, right? So we're part of the problem, and this was all
sounds familiar, doesn't it, chat?
Inevitable. I want to roll back the clock a little bit, and there's two aspects of this that I want to talk about, and they both concern to some degree the process of buying something physical. So first of all, I worked in retail sales for, I don't know, maybe 7 years on and off, some full-time, some part-time. I worked in independent video game stores. I worked at GameStop. I worked at a music shop, HMV, that sold games as well, right? So like I worked within that space in numerous different places, you know, always in the south of Ireland. So that's where all my data, I guess, is coming from. But you know, I was there selling stuff to people, and for me, you know, before I broke into games coverage, this was the place where I learned the most about games, I guess, and people's habits with games and stuff like that. The importance of the secondhand market, I think, is really misunderstood. And I think when the current threat to gaming right now, and especially the consoles, is the fact that younger people aren't buying games, I think there is a solution we had for free in the past. There were multiple solutions that we had for free in the past that no longer exist, and now we're basically paying the fine for them. So today, a kid wants to play a game, right? They don't have a credit card. You know, there's not many video game shops around selling games, and the games that they do sell are all $60. What do? They go on Fortnite, they go on Roblox, they go where their friends are, right? They play these games. On PC, we do see some conversion of older versions of those younger players getting into, you know, sort of friend slop stuff, right? You know, I use that phrase with love. You know, games like Lethal Company, Among Us, obviously during COVID. Like, so there is a transition. If a game is good enough and people have access to the hardware, and most kids these days have some sort of access to computers, usually for school, then there's a vector for them there, right? With consoles, so before consoles, right, I grew up in the Commodore Amiga era in Ireland, and we were able to literally copy the games and hand them to each other, right? But you also had demo discs. PlayStation had demo discs. Demos were like a way for people to get access to games that they may not play otherwise, which created generations of people like me and probably like you who are open to playing lots of different types of games, right? For this like 10, 15 year period in between the sort of height of the demo scene and kind of like where we are now with these live service experiences, there has been like the only way that people had access to those types of experiences was through the secondhand retail market. So right now, Namco Bandai, right, has some RPG up on the PSN store, right? They're not monitoring the sales of that. They're not advertising it. They're not like changing the prices dynamically to make sure people are buying it, right? For, you know, decades, game stores were doing that for free. They have a profit motive to make sure that secondhand games go off the shelf.
Yep.
So if, you know, those 15 copies of BMX XXX that we always had weren't selling, they went down to like €5. Or they got bundled into, you know, a buy 3, get the cheapest one free thing.
Working at the local game store, I can vouch that this is all true. If we have 50 copies of a game, that price of we will cut the price down on that game to sell X amount, and then we'll put it back up when the inventory balances out.
So there was always this vector for younger kids especially to come in, pick up secondhand games, maybe pick up some games that they wouldn't, you know, necessarily take a risk on, but because it's so cheap and because they know they can trade it back in, often for new games, you were basically training these kids to play different types of games. There were more games out there. They were physical. People were handing them to their friends. Yeah. You know, at one stage, Blockbuster was allowing you to rent games in the UK. I remember it was something crazy. You could pay like $7 a month and you'd get unlimited rentals. I just played everything. I played new games that way as well. But there was always these vectors for people to play different types of games and share different types of games. And that made gamers, like that made people who would then come in a couple of years later and buy an Xbox 360 or buy a Wii or, you know, buy a new game for that same console that they already owned. That's all gone. For the most part, that's essentially now gone. And this is not something that like was planned necessarily, obviously.
No, that's not planned. It's the culture. That is why, one, I'm a variety streamer, right? And two, that is exactly how we grew up. When you have a limited budget, right? You want to rent games. You don't like Why do you think we own all this stuff now? Because we have adult money. But when you're a kid, you can't afford this stuff. And the rental store was your dream store. That was your access to everything back in the 80s and 90s.
When the digital storefronts came out, it makes a lot of sense for these companies to, make an offering for people there where they can get these games easily. And that's all well and good. And these days, do I go out to my local Best Buy and pick up a game? No, I don't. I download it on my machine, and I guess I'm part of the problem. But this is the other side of this conversation, which I think is really important. There's the sort of like access that people had and building up and training players to play different types of games, to be exposed to different type of games we just don't have anymore because kids are playing Fortnite, Roblox, Minecraft, whatever. They're not going out and playing, they're not buying, 8 games a year like lots of us are. They're buying a game every 2 years or not buying a game at all. They're buying skins, right? The other side of this is those of us who would happily buy a physical version of a game. Look behind me. I'm a fucking sicko. I have all my Amiga games that I had as a kid there. I have all these PC big box games. I have all of these games here. Granted, I have a great excuse in that we filmed a lot of box B-roll here at NoClip, so I can just like sort of write it off as my taxes or whatever. But the state that we're at now is like this. And I should mention, this is actually not, I don't think this is an official release. I think this is one that I got, buying through one of these retailers like, I can't even fucking think of any of them now, but Limited Run or Fan Gamer or stuff like that, right? I think I got it through that. And it has a map in it and like cool stuff. But even so, this is like a pretty light offering. I think it came in a box with a bunch of stuff. This is like what PC games turned into when I was a teenager. Games for Windows. Look, there's the disc. Games for Windows. I'm sure this came with like one piece of paper in it. That probably had a fucking end user license agreement. This is how people tried to get people to buy fancy versions of games. Your Steelbook situation, which honestly I've always kind of hated because it's just tin. It comes with a code. What's this? It's the OST. If anyone wants the OST, there's a code for the OST. Enjoy.
Feel it.
It's a good soundtrack. So that's where we ended up. Fucking Too Human on Xbox 360. At least these boxes were green and cool, right? And they had a manual in them, I guess. Yeah. But the further you go back in time, and I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but let's just fucking look at these things, okay? Wipeout 20i7 European version comes with a big, dirty, fat manual which has like information on all the sick bands.
You guys have this?
I'd argue maybe the European versions are better on PlayStation generally, but this American one is pretty sick. I like that. Doom on Super Nintendo. Look at these boxes. Granted, they had to have a cartridge in it, I understand, but like they look cool. NHL 94. It's a big, look at all this shit you get in this. Some of it's ads, sure. There's like a poster, there's like a manual, there's a fucking introducing another game, EA Sportswear. Apparently that was a thing at one stage. That's how much these companies used to care about physical shit, is that they'd sell you a terrible.
I'm gonna be devil's advocate here for a second, right? This is how the companies marketed to you back in the day, right? That's why they had to do that. There was no internet. It was either magazines, TV. I don't think kids listened to the radio because you had to be visual in video games, right? So, to be fair, it is the reflection of the culture at the time, period. That's why we had more physical stuff, because they're advertising to us. Now everything's online. Ads are now on the internet. Billboards aren't as popular as ads on your YouTube video, right? So it makes sense that this was more prevalent back in the day.
Golfing jacket. And then, all the way back to the Amiga. Look at the Street Fighter 2 box for the Amiga. We did a documentary on CD Projekt, back in, year 3 of NoClip. And the origin of that company was that they lived in a society in which people got pretty much all their media for free or buying them at like cheap markets for like, 2 zloty. I don't know what Polish, sorry, I think that's Russian. Apologies, Poland. Polish dollars, Polish euros, Polish pounds, there we go. And they created a company that took those games that were purchasable cheaper at the next stand, and they put them in nice boxes with manuals, translated, with all of these like extra little gubbins in them. CD Projekt was a company about selling fucking CDs. And from that, they built a company large enough to make their own game. When was the last time like you or somebody you know bought vinyl, right? Vinyl right now is like exploding. Why is vinyl exploding? Is it because people are using record players more?
No Shoes, our fellow co-streamer, he buys a lot of vinyl. Follow him on No Shoes on Instagram, I believe, and he has lots of photos of his vinyl collection.
Or no, it's because you can't fucking buy music in any other way. People want to hold things. It's why merchandise has become such a big thing for bands. That and the fact that streaming music has all but killed any profit that they'll get from their music being listened to by somebody. But like t-shirts and, you know, massive merch stands, or like, you know, putting on their own gigs so they're able to like sell more stuff to their hardcore fans. Like 95% of the vinyl that's purchased is never played, right? It's just, it sits on a shelf. People like...
Honestly, the whole like physical copies and retail and like save money on that stuff, that's a whole load of crap, because it's no different than the price of a game physically is no different than it is digital. Sometimes the game that in physical form is cheaper than it is digitally. That is a freaking lie. We thought that was the incentive, right, to go digital back in the day. They're like, oh, we're gonna go digital, and remember, we're like, oh yeah, is that gonna make games cheaper? And we find out they're the same price. Like, no, it didn't do anything for us, so why would we buy it digital? That makes no sense.
Like as humans, we like holding onto a cool thing, and what's happened is game companies got that for free. That was never on a spreadsheet item. It was never something that they had I think was part of their business mathematics. It was something that just existed because games had to be sold to people and they needed to be able to put it in their computer. And then obviously over the years, shelf space got tighter, packaging stuff became, we'll nip and tuck here and there. And we ended up with the fucking Call of Duty World at War. I mean, this thing even feels like it's going to crack any second. And so no wonder people stopped buying physical stuff. And I know, look, there's no getting around the fact that the convenience of buying a game, the fact that most games get patched, if they're not a live game, they're getting a day one patch regardless. I completely understand. But people will buy the fucking, new Deftones album on vinyl and then they'll listen to it on their fucking phone. They'll do both. Yeah. Do you think people buying the limited run games don't already own those games? Like, I owned Dredge. Why did I buy that? It was for B-roll stuff. But like, you know what I mean? Like the idea, this argument that like digital will always beat physical sales because of the convenience and all that sort of stuff. It is totally misunderstanding a significant motive that people have to buy those things physically. And here's where it sort of comes together for me, is that I think gaming over the past 20 years, aside from the fact that a lot of these kids are growing up and they see their parents playing and it's just not cool anymore.
Jay goes, it's because it's an opportunity for loss, right? It hasn't even happened yet. And they're in their brain, they're like, it's an opportunity, it's a gateway for loss. Guys, these big companies think private Minecraft servers are bad business for Minecraft. They literally feel, this was a part of the ESA conversation, they say that Minecraft servers are bad businesses for Minecraft. It makes them nervous for us to have private servers on Minecraft because of piracy. But yet that game makes billions and billions of dollars, right? So no matter, it's because they don't have full control. You know what they are? They're like, remember Durin when you guys watched The Hobbit, right? Yeah, nice, Grant. Remember, guys, you've ever watched The Hobbit, What is that thing that Duran gets? Dragon Scourge or something? Where like he gets obsessed with like the treasure in the mountain, right? That's these companies. They're so obsessed with their games and then their IPs that they don't want to like relinquish any control to the people that actually play their stuff on a daily basis and give them lots of money. So that's their mentality right now. Okay, now I gotta look it up. What is that thing? Bonus points to anybody in chat that can tell me what that is from the Hobbit. Hobbit. I thought it was Dragon Scourge. No, that's what Smog is. In the movie. The condition having an actual name. Yeah, it's like they talk about it. Like endurance. Obsessed with treasure, right? Obsessed with treasure. It's called something. Dragon sickness. The obsession with treasure is known as dragon sickness. The malady is a consuming greed caused by a dragon brooding over a hoard of gold. It drives its victims to be cruel, paranoid, and violently protective of their wealth. That is 100% what these companies are doing. They have dragon sickness. They like are super protective about every little thing. You know, like what you guys are saying, it costs pennies to print things, but it leads to piracy. This is why they have DRM. Oh no. Oh no. What should we do?
Gaming itself has become so unbelievably fucking dry. It is so rizless, as the kids say. Games are cool. Some of the games that we cover on NoClip too, like in terms of game design, AAA is obviously having a real problem with stagnation. There are some games out there pushing the boundaries. I think Expedition 33, I think Arc Raiders, there's some games out there that are trying to do new things with gameplay or art or whatever, and I think that's really fucking cool. But most of the games that are doing interesting things, I believe, a lot of people who follow this channel believe, are on the indie side, specifically on PC. And there is a market for those type of people doing that sort of stuff. But when the Switch 2 was announced, I pragmatically understand why the Switch 2 looks the way it is and is the way it is and all that sort of stuff. But I criticized it at the time because I said, nobody's making hardware that's desirable anymore. There was a time for 30 years, probably most of my life of playing games, that consoles were cool. They were objects that were desirable in the same way that boxes were objects that were desirable. The new consoles are designed to sit in a living room and not take up any energy or space. Did you see the energy when that like Xbox that looked like the old Xbox, the translucent green one, was announced?
I want it.
Like, people want cool shit. There's millions of gamers, tens of millions, hundreds of millions of gamers around the world, and they want to buy cool shit. They would buy games in boxes if you sold them in a cool way. I don't know what the idea, maybe just leave the code. The code is probably fine. It probably doesn't need, you know, the fucking disc, but like have a version of the game that people can hold on to and keep, and people, you know, and people in preservation can rip off of it. So we
want the game
have a copy of it somewhere, and maybe people plug the USB into their fucking PlayStation. Making a USB drive these days is probably cheaper than making a fucking optical disc at this stage, right? Put cool stuff in it, you know, make it a desirable thing, celebrate it, like sell it. I don't know, maybe you can't sell it in the high street, you can sell it online, allow people to sell it to other people at game stores or on eBay or whatever. Like, have it be a transferable thing that people can sell and have it be cool that way. Make consoles that look interesting. I just feel like there's a complete lack of imagination
basically me
when it comes to the platform holders for sure, but also perhaps maybe some of these publishers or developers who could do this on their own. You know what I mean? Like, if they have a license to put the game out, there's nothing stopping them from producing their own collector's editions or limited editions or stuff like this.
I'd buy that for $1.
Both of them at the same time.
Well, I got the picture.
So to me, this is infuriating because it's obviously been a slow death. It is the sort of enshittification of our industry, which has already happened to stuff like film and music. It makes me super angry. And the thing I think that makes me the most frustrated is, unfortunately, to change this, it's going to require people to do some really dangerous, exciting things when it comes to the consoles, how they work, how we sell games, the physical nature of this sort of stuff. And, you know, with the epoch, the business and technological epoch we live in at the moment, that is swimming upstream from the currents. Yeah, so it really pisses me off. But I think this has been a long time coming, and I think outside of the fact that this is going to save people money, outside of the fact that people don't buy games physically right now over digital ones, I think this is a massive moment that the games industry is shooting itself in both feet. Because what's going to happen is you're not going to get a lot of these younger players playing different games, trying different games. It just doesn't happen that way. It doesn't happen on Spotify. People don't listen to weird music. Some people do, most people don't. We don't listen to it anymore. We used to have the radio. You'd hear a new band. Nobody does that shit anymore. You know, movies, maybe people are more flick-aroundy on movies. But with games, they're not. They're either players who play lots of different games and try stuff, or they're not. And the problem is there's more of the or nots. And without a healthy second-hand physical marketplace in some way, we're not going to convert those people.
He's right, you know. Here's the thing. He's already said what I've already mentioned before on this show, on this channel, right? But I do want to show you something that while he was talking that I wanted to look up. This is why another reason why physical is important, right? And probably another reason why they want to remove physical. Ready, chat? You may hate this. You may hate it. Just saying. You may hate it. Oh, we're in the wrong one. Let's go this one. Show, bro. Look at this. Look at this, chat. God of War Ragnarok digitally on PlayStation, the PlayStation Store, right? $69.99. Full price. $70. Bruh. How old is this game? $70? You kidding me? You kidding me? Here it is, physically. Look at that. Physical price. Go to Walmart. Go get a real disc. Physical game. Half the price. That's one of the reasons why they want to get rid of physical. They want to remove your option. Right? They want to take your option away from buying that. And you're forced to buy $70. Like I said, I'm on the side of the consumer. Right? I'm on the side of the consumer here. But we also gotta warn you guys, what's their mental space on this? Right? Why are they doing this? Right? And I think a lot of it is fluff, honestly. They're trying to save money, yada yada yada. No, it's honestly 100% control. 100% control. But this is one of the examples I wanted to show you why physical is important, because let's say you want to play God of War Ragnarok tonight, right? But I don't want to leave the house. Okay, you're gonna pay $70 for that if you don't leave the house. Oh, they're gonna shut it down. Okay, well I can't download it anymore. Right? I can't download it anymore. There's my $70 gone. Or I can wait till Walmart opens or have it delivered to my house, right? $32.75. Get a disc for that. Install it, delete it whenever you want, play it whenever you want, right? Here's the thing too, chat. Okay, Okay, we're done with this. Here's the thing too that I want to let you guys I want to share with you guys. Maybe we haven't thought about this yet, right? Maybe we haven't thought about this yet. How big are each of these games in your hard drive? What's the biggest game on your hard drive right now? How big is your console hard drive? I think mine is 2 terabytes, right? Or a terabyte, one of the two. I think it's 2 terabytes. But let's say you have a game digital only installed in your PlayStation, right? That game is no longer being able to be downloaded. They lost the license. You can't get it anymore, but you can still play it if it's in your PlayStation, just like with PT. PT, if you have it in your PlayStation, great. If you delete it, it's done. It's gone forever, disappeared, cannot download, right? So what if that game is like 500 gigabytes? Because we experienced this on the show, on the stream, like last week when I was trying to play Modern Warfare 2, right? It forced me to download 200 gigabytes of stuff, but I only really needed 50 of it. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Right? Fucking COD. But what I'm saying is that you are now handcuffed to locking that game in your system because you have no choice to not delete it, otherwise you lose it forever. You can't save it on a hard disk, right? You can't transfer it. I think maybe you can, but I don't know. I don't want to take that risk and corrupt the files, right? If it's a game I could never download ever again. I have it because I bought it, but see what I'm saying? That sucks. It's about control. It's 100% control. Yes, it's cool. The video we just saw, physical is super important. Yeah, it's cool to have it. It's part of our culture. It's part of our hobby, how we grew up, right? But what do we lose when games become only accounts and they just become licenses and storefront entries, right? It just loses the soul of ownership. It loses the soul of like, having pride in collecting, you know. Here's some talking points. Is physical media dying because players stop caring or because companies stop making it valuable? Companies, I'm going to answer this question. It's super easy. Okay. Physical media is dying is simply because the culture has changed, right? Our priorities have changed. What he mentioned, young kids not being able to afford anything, that's also true. When games are $70, right? Consoles are $1,000. Kids are not going to be able to afford anything. So therefore, they're going to go free to play, you know, and then have their accounts will be their form of ownership, right? But then that's not even theirs either. They just don't know that because they're kids, right? Dude, Nintendo shutting down a 3DS store is like one of the worst things, right? Fire Emblem Fates is stuck in that store. It's gone. They need to they actually I honestly wholeheartedly believe they need to remake 3DS games on the Switch too, right? And have the Switch and have the compatibility of playing it on the big screen and then on the small screen as on your Switch. That would be so innovative and so clever. I would love that. Did used games, rentals, and demos help create more adventurous gamers? Yeah, absolutely. It also helped our wallets. I'm telling you, chat. Like in the 80s, because I'm an old head. If I'm as old, if not older, than our dean of students, right? OCB. $2 for a rental to try out a game for 24 hours, return it the next day was access. That's access. If it was on the shelf, you could rent it, try it out, right? It saved you so much money. If you think about it this way, video games cost about $30 to $40 back in the day, right? Nintendo games. Super Nintendo games. I think it's Nintendo games were $2, and then I remember like Super Nintendo came out and it became like $3 or $4, right? You have $5. You're a kid. You're on allowance. You're a kid. This is why it's different. When you have $5, you spend those $2, $4 probably to try out 2 games for that weekend, right? And you tied 2 different games. Now with $6, $4, you can't spend anything. You can download a couple demos, but you're gonna need an internet connection also. You know what I'm saying? Like, to play your game today, you need A, B, C, D, even though it's free, because you have to download it. You have to create an account, right? You have to get the console. Can you get a used console? Like, it's so much more complicated now than it was back then. Back then, you turn on this console on, plug it in, you're good to go. Now it's like, oh, I have to like delete the old account, make my new account, right? Yada yada yada. Go online. I gotta go play in the McDonald's bathroom for the Wi-Fi. Right? If younger players only live inside free-to-play games, how does industry convert them to broader game buyers? You can't. You cannot. They have no money. So they're forced to ask their parents for V-Bucks, right? Like, how many kids do you think ask their parents to buy them V-Bucks or some sort of like in-game currency because of the games that they play? The minute that my kid tells me that I want in-game currency and I have to pay real money for it, I'd be like, then that game is not free anymore, bro. That game's not free anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like, that game's not free. How bad do you want that banana man skin, right? You better mow that lawn 12 times over the summer. Something. Can physical games survive if companies make them collectible and meaningful again? Yes. Chat, we just talked about this on the Square Enix website, right? Oh, let's go back. Make me upset. Because this still upsets me. Right? And this is why we literally makes no sense, because we were talking about this and I was like kind of complaining about it the last time we're talking about it, right? And I was like, what the hell? Never asked me for a game again. Okay, we're back. I want this. Right? So the question is, whoop, wrong one. Sorry. My bad. The question is, can physical games survive if companies make them collectible and meaningful again? Companies are making them collectible and meaningful. This bitch is sold out. This bitch is $200. And it's sold out. Are you telling me the video game industry is struggling when things like this is sold out for me to buy? This is why whatever they're saying is BS. Think about that, chat. Think about this. I hate being this conspiracy theorist guy, right? But we got to use our big brain here. We got to game with intention. We got to play with intention, right? We don't want to be bamboozled or swindled. We don't want to be lied to, first of all, right? We are the industry's lifeline. We created and built this industry, right? Without us, the consumer that buys our stuff, then supply and demand, right? This game has physical. It's got a book. I want that art book. It's got what is this, like a marquise or something like that? Like what are they called? Acrylic, yeah. These are the acrylic standees that you get. Pretty cool, by the way. Like, if you like pixel art, it's pretty cool, right? The game, physical game, big old box. I'm gonna have to shell out money for this. This is probably gonna cost me $500. Stupid scalpers. You get the soundtrack, right? It's sold out. Quantity 0. Pre-order not available. I don't think you can pre-order this anywhere else except here. This is the only place you can pre-order this. So what you're saying is that this is sold out, but we're having problems in the game industry? Excuse me? That makes no sense. Every time they release a collector's edition, it always sells out, but yet we're having problems in the game industry. So they're lying to your face. 100%. Lying to your face. It makes no sense. I'll believe it when this thing is fully in stock. I can buy it on release day. You know what I'm saying? There's no, like, the pre-orders are still around. This is not available on any console. Look at that. So don't come to me saying that, hey, physical sucks, physical doesn't work. No, people are buying it. It's sold out. Is convenience worth losing ownership, resale, lending, and preservation? Convenience is never worth losing ownership, resale, lending, and preservation. The only person that affects is the publisher. They don't want us to own games. Matter of fact, we don't own the game, right? They just mentioned that it's a license to use the game. So we don't already have that. The reason why they don't want us to resell is they're putting the installs on the discs, right? But not the actual game, or they're putting DRM, right? Whatever. They don't want us to lend accounts because we got to make accounts for all the games that we play, right? They're trying to tie games to that. Matter of fact, we talked about last week how Microsoft, in their goodness gracious, said that, like, hey, we can digitize your games if you like. We're going to create a thing where you take your physical games and we can digitize them into your Xbox. And I told you guys that is a bad move. That is not a good thing. Because what they left out was, by the way, when we do this, the disc is basically locked to this console. So what you're saying is that it's the same thing that I have now, but now I can't lend it to my friend. That's exactly what that means. That's all what that means. Don't let them fool you. Read the fine print, question it, right? Is this good for me or is this good for Microsoft? Right? It's okay to do that. Okay? Our platform holders showing a lack of imagination by abandoning physical instead of reinventing it. Our platform holders showing a lack of imagination by abandoning physical instead of reinventing. It's lazy. It's an instant win for them, and we are, like I said, the sacrificial lamb for them. Right? It's lazy. They're going for the quick buck, the quick return on their bad decisions with games like, Concord and buying Bungie. All right, where does this tie in with our whole shtick here in the Headmaster's desk? Well, this connects exactly to playing it with intention, because when you buy digital only, ask yourself this, right? Do I want the convenience or ownership? And remember, I said digital only. I own Ball Pit digital only, but I also bought the physical one, right? Do I want convenience or ownership? Will I still have access later? Can I lend, trade, preserve, or revisit this game? Am I supporting the future I actually want? And I feel like you guys ask yourself this, like, secretly without having to say it out loud like I do anyway. So I think we're good here in our community. But I will say this: the loss of physical games is not just about discs disappearing. It's about losing the used game shelf. Look behind me, right? And I'll get a bigger camera here for you. It's about losing the used game shelf. All these games are used right here, by the way, right? The rental counter, the demo disc, the friend who let you something weird, and the cheap copy that made you take a chance. We have all done those things. Tonight's lesson: when games stop being these things, players lose more than plastic boxes. They sure do, chat. They sure do. When games stop being these things, players lose more than plastic boxes. So the reason for that is because, the video we just watched, he wouldn't have all those memories. He wouldn't have all those experiences if not for physical content. Right? We honestly all of this can be summarized to, if it not for physical content, we would not be here right now where we're at. Physical brought us here, right? And you're trying to take it away. So where do you think it's going to go after that? Do you think we're so far lost? We're so far into your company, Sony, Xbox, whoever. It's going to be Sony. I'm going to say Sony. That you don't think we have other options? Right? Do you think that our loyalty to you is unbreakable? I think I'm not sure about that. If you look over here, I have 360 games, right? I have an Xbox Series X back down there. Right? I have an Xbox One. I have a PC. Right? I can go old school with PlayStation 1, play Alundra, right? Super cool box, by the way. It's in foil, right? Or play a trash game like Biofreaks, right? You can never forget about Biofreaks, guys, right? We don't need digital only. We got here because of physical. Understand that. We got here because of physical. The industry was not built on digital games. It was built on us owning stuff, showing it off to our friends, spreading the good word. Just because we have convenience of the internet, YouTube, ABCD, right? It doesn't mean we don't like these things. Take that as you want. I also believe that your data is skewed, in my opinion. I agree that you're using data, but I don't think it's fair when some games are only digital only and you're counting that. That's messed up. You shouldn't count that. Okay? All right. That's basically the two big videos I wanted to cover today. So, are you guys have a good time with that, or is that cool or what? You guys enjoy the show? Did you guys enjoy this Headmaster's desk? Did you guys, donate to St. Jude? Right? St. Jude? So, yeah, no, it's just really insane how like arrogant. I think that's the word that I'm looking for. Is the industry? I think the industry just has gotten arrogant about um, who put them there, right? And I'm not a fan of how they're treating us. Not a fan of it at all. It's like they know that they messed up. They know they messed up, and they're self-adjusting so hard that they probably forgot who put them there. Matter of fact, I wouldn't put it past them to have them think that the reason why they messed up is because of us. Because in 2020 we were all online playing games. They thought that was the future, right? Oh, no more physical. They're all buying digital. They're all playing friend swap. They're all playing multiplayer games with battle passes. It's the peak of gaming, and that's true. But we also didn't have a choice. We didn't have an option, right? We were stuck at home. We would get arrested if we went outside. It's not like that anymore. That was the culture at the time, right? Very brief period of time. 2 years, probably longer, right? And now the industry failed to adapt again to it. They don't want to. They don't want to roll back. They don't want to go. Okay, let's go back to before 2020, when it was stabilized. We're gonna keep going. And you know why they keep going, investors, because chart go up. Chart go up, guys. You want to keep the chart going up. That's how they are. Chart go up. Yeah, investing in live service. Yeah, isn't that crazy? For the last, what? Let's say last 5 years, honestly. The last 5 years, all we saw on these Summer Games Fest, the Game Awards, were all like 80% friend slop, online only, hero shooters, right? Hero shooters is like extraction shooters. Everything was online. Everything is a multiplayer game. And then on the last show, they were like, did you guys notice, right? Like 80 to 90% single player games. It took them 6 years. Honestly, I don't even think it was a choice. I think they just literally saw the numbers and go, "Oh shit. It's not working anymore. We can't abuse the system anymore. We can't abuse them anymore." So we're forced to switch. We're forced to change. It wasn't a conscious decision. It was literally like they have to adapt or die. They wanted us to adapt to them, but we were better than that. You guys are better than that. You did it. You forced the industry to change. And this is why I say we're held responsible for what's happening with Sony, right? Because we cause them panic. And this is them making bad choices to readjust for it, right? But don't worry, guys. Don't worry. Let's just say, let's give it a couple years, right? Maybe we'll get a couple years where there's no physical from Sony. Sales tank, Xbox flourishes, right? Nintendo flourishes. Probably Nintendo, honestly. You got to get a game cartridge. Probably Nintendo, right? We're gonna go back to basics. Go to Mario. Back to Daddy, right? Basically. And now Sony's gonna be like, "Oh shit, we fucked up. We messed up. We shouldn't have gotten digital only." Here's another situation why I think it's silly to go digital only right now, right? What was Xbox's plan? Centralized Game Pass, right? Everything is an Xbox. If everything is an Xbox, you don't need a disc, right? Game Pass is online, digital only, basically, right? And look what happened to their company. So I think Sony is going to learn the hard way in a couple years, maybe even 4 or 5, that they're going to be the new Xbox because their arrogant ass is going to be humbled by their bad decision. Like I said, it may take 4 to 5 years for the numbers to really, really tank, right? That they're going to hard reset themselves into putting physical back. Maybe. That's just a theory, a game theory. And that's just a theory, a game theory. You guys miss Matt Pat? I miss Matt Pat. Matt Pat was a huge part of my internet like browsing career, or not career, but like internet browsing like activity back in the day. What happened? I just disappeared. That was crazy. What's up? What's up? I'm back. Am I back? Can you guys hear me? Am I here? Okay, I blinked out of existence for a second. That was crazy. It's Sony. Sony's trying to get me, guys. That was crazy. Wow. That was that was okay. So you won't get with it. You won't get away with this. I have all your accounts. I mean, they could do it. They can just totally erase my accounts 100%. That's great. All right, so this weekend, right? Saturday. So we had recently just beat Modern Warfare 2, and I freaking loved it, by the way. It was so fun. Like the story mode was just like so good, right? It was the reboot, right? Modern Warfare 2 reboot. What I did not like is that I had to like I had to install 500 gigabytes, or no, it was like 200 gigs of Call of Duty trash I don't care about, and then re-download 30 gigs of campaign specifically for Modern Warfare 2. But here's the irony. The game one of the games for PSN this month is Modern Warfare 3. So bless that we're able to get that for free. You actually play a campaign in GQ. I heard it was like open ended, and that was like a lot of people were like, "Yeah, I don't know about that." Yeah, open combat zone. Yeah, I'm telling you, I've already deleted Modern Warfare 2 from my PlayStation. I just honestly wanted to play the storyline. I don't care about online. I just wanted to play the story, and I loved it. I was like, this is so sick. Like, I just have a soft spot for like really cool, like story driven military shooters. Like I grew up in like the 2000s playing that stuff. World at War was really fun. Black Ops story was really cool, right? Like the Modern Warfare, the original one is like top tier, one of the best like written and scripted single player experiences I've ever had. Like I felt that I was in it, man. Like in Modern Warfare 2, the OG, when you're like the general or private Perez or whatever in the helo when you're escaping Baghdad and the nuke blows up, bro, I felt that. I was like, oh my god, this sucks. My guy's about to die. Like, I felt bad for that guy, and that was your guy, right? Like your characters in those games, like they were like, "Ooh, man, hits me really hard." Like, I don't know, like I love them. I don't know about you guys. I love them. Here's the thing too. I've also not played the BioShock games, so I don't know how those games are like. Like they're probably as good, if anything, right? But those Modern Warfare games, like you being Soap and you and Captain Price trying to take down the General Shepherd because he betrayed you and you're hunting him down, dude, bro. It was so good. Like you're just like, ooh, you killed my whole squad. I'm gonna find you, bro. We trusted you, right? And you betray us, bro. Dude, so good, so good, S- so good. Yeah, I don't know if it does it include the story, the campaign for that, Andre, or is it just multiplayer? Oh, I played all the Call of Duty campaigns. I love them. I started with 2 on the 360, right? 1 was on the PlayStation 2, and it was not good. But they got really good on 2. Call of Duty 2 OG was really good. 3 was okay. Um, and then World at War was good. The Big Red one was kind of a side story, right? And then World at War was actually like the end of that, right? But then it like leaks into Black Ops. It leads into Black Ops, believe it or not. Like it's connected to the Black Ops line of games. It's crazy. Yeah, see what I'm saying? Andre knows what's up. He hates the multiplayer but loves the campaigns. It's because they have a good narrative. Like that, I'm telling you, it's like a it's the thing that they don't capitalize on. Actually, you know what? I don't know about that. But like I feel like, they spend more resources on the multiplayer, but it's the single player is where it's at, honestly. Lol. Yeah, it was like Big Red 1, World at War, was really good. Uh, yeah, I mean, there's also like World War II, right? Call of Duty Vanguard. I don't think I played Vanguard. Or have I? I can't remember. I think Vanguard was the one that's just stories, right? Dude, there's so much. I love like, those campaigns, man. Yeah, if it's World War II or like modern, they're both good. They're both good. That's how I that's how I ended up liking Call of Duty. The multiplayer is just an afterthought. I didn't buy Call of Duty because of the multiplayer. I bought it because like and when they sold it to you, it was very cinematic, right? And it was really cool to see all the guys running in the screen, like in this like crazy battlefield. Like, oh, we gotta get it. We gotta take him down. Let's go. Let's go. And your homies are like waving at you, come this way. Guys are flying left and right, exploding, and then there's just bombs and gunfire everywhere, and just a lot of dead bodies. And you're like, this is World War II. This is how it's like. And you're like, I've never seen this before. I've never seen this many dead bodies before on the screen. Like, this is crazy. You're like afraid to leave your cover. That is the experience of Call of Duty when you first played Call of Duty. Not now with this Warzone DMZ BS, right? Not this battle royale stuff. No, it was a cinematic experience brought to you by Saving Private Ryan. Every gamer that had a World War II penchant for that theme and aesthetic, Saving Private Ryan was the reason why they wanted to play those games. That's the secret. They wanted to play those games. Right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, voice. Appreciate you. Anyway. That's about it. Let's wind it down. Any last takeaways, guys, before I call it for the night? You heard Infinite Warfare is good. Infinite Warfare is very science, sci-fi, right? If you want like military thriller, Advanced Warfare is good. The one with Kevin Spacey, that one's good. Advanced Warfare is military thriller, right? Infinite Warfare is more sci-fi, like Sci-Fi Channel, like plot wise, from what I remember. You can even like pilot jets in that one, right? It's pretty neat, right? Ghost was very like late 90s, like military action, like Expendables. It was really like that was the vibe of that one. Like it was very down to earth with like characters hating each other, right? Like it was more personal. It was really weird. All right. All right, class. Tonight that brings it to the end. The session to a close, and tonight's lesson was a big one. Because when we talk about the PlayStation moving forward and toward digital only games, when we talk about the decline of physical media, when we talk about live service games disappearing, right? Storefronts changing, licenses replacing ownership, and players losing the ability to trade, lend, collect, or preserve the games they love. We are not just talking about plastic cases and discs. We're talking about the relationships between players and the games they buy. The games they buy. For a long time, physical games give us more than a way to play. They gave us memories, gave us collections, they gave us game stores, rental nights, demo discs, used shelves, trade-ins, man, those were the days, man. And that one friend who let you borrow a game you would never have tried otherwise. Guitar Man. These help create gamers. Everything here did. Look around you. And now, as the industry moves deeper into a digital ecosystem, subscriptions, accounts, servers, licenses. We have to ask harder questions. What do we actually own? What happens when a game disappears, like PT? Who controls the access? What gets preserved and what gets lost? Like Sephiroth, I'll never just be a memory. What are we giving up in exchange for convenience? That does not mean digital is bad. Digital has opened the doors, it's made games easier to access. It's had helped indie games reach players. It's made libraries more convenient than ever, right? I have all my games in one section here. Kind of like MAME, right? Those MAME emulators all in one place. That's really cool. I think that's really awesome. But convenience should not stop us from asking what the trade-off is. You know, that's what playing with intention means. It's not just how you play or how we play, it's about how we buy, how we collect, how we support this industry that we love so much, but doesn't love us back. How we protect our time, our money, our access, and our own deep memories. So, as players, we need to stay informed, read the fine print, understand the license, support preservation, stop killing games, support physical when it matters to you. And when something deserves your coin, make sure it actually is earned and you earned it. Because the game has changed, but that does not mean we stop asking questions. We ask more. This has been Gamer Quotient Gaming Academy. I'm GQ Asian Dude reminding you, don't just download the future because the industry handed it to you. Inspect that cartridge or disc, read the manual, check your save files, and make sure the game you're buying today is still a game you can play tomorrow. Don't forget, play with intention. Class dismissed. Y'all have a good night, everybody. Take care. See you next time. Okay, that's just not going to change. Got it.